not an expert in political things and in the war. As a person, as a Ukrainian woman who just experienced the war coming in the country, I don't know, for me it's obvious that it will not end soon. Even if it ends tomorrow, a lot of factories, a lot of infrastructure, a lot of housings are already destroyed. Tens of thousands of people already died. Ukraine and Ukrainian people will need a lot of help everywhere in the world.
At the onset of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, we started a Bake for Ukraine campaign with our friend Anna, owner of Bakehouse in Kyiv. Our mission is to inspire the global community of bakers to recreate some of the Bakehouse breads and contribute in order to rebuild what has been lost. I feel so much more in my element being like the host, you know, having people in our bakery that already know us. It's different being the guest.
How are you?
Very good, very good, yeah.
Can I? Yeah, of course. Diogo didn't come yet?
I haven't seen him yet, but I don't really know what he looks like. Were you already familiar with Gleba before?
I was asking people what is the bakeries around, and everyone says Gleba.
I think this might be him. Diogo is the owner of Gleba Padaria, a very popular chain of Portuguese artisan bakeries. This young baking entrepreneur offered his Cascais location for us to use for the project. His bakery in Lisbon is very similar to both Bakehouse in Ukraine and Proof back in Mesa. We're meeting with him to make final arrangements for the project and enjoy some of his breads.
When did you start Gleba?
So I started Gleba 5 years ago, roughly. Started as the only employee, so really small, doing everything, you know, selling the bread and making it and cleaning everything. And
I really like your concept of the central location and then having ovens in the satellite locations. We finally built a central baking facility in our city, and now we're trying to figure out how we can get out of only such a huge ramp up on Saturdays, because Saturdays is insane for us. I was debating this idea of satellite locations similar, so you're the first person that I've ever seen executing that concept.
there couldn't be another way for us to do it, you know, like the process, it's not very forgiving.
No.
So you cannot just like produce in 8 different locations with 8 different teams and expect that it's going to work out.
Even with 2 teams, it's challenging.
It's not going to work out. So, you know, most of our loaves, they have that slow, long proof in the retarder, and so it just continues in the truck with the same kind of temperatures, and it's delivered, you know, in the shops, you know, to really get that sense of freshness and quality and authenticity. Healthy, sustainable, authentic, socially conscious food is a fast-growing market.
Sourdough in our part of the world is just, nobody bothers it. Most industrial bread is just so substandard comparatively. Can we try some of your bread? Because
of course, yeah, of course.
they served some basic bread in our Airbnb this morning, and I did not have it because I was waiting for this.
I'll get some bread, but do you guys want some food as well?
Sure, whatever you suggest. Yeah, we're not picky.
Sorry about it. Probably it's a couple days old, and
you know, I'm the same way. If somebody ever tries my bread, I always want it to be better than. So please don't worry, because we think it's delicious. Gleba is a growing urban bakery which mills its own Portuguese heritage flours and manages to bake fresh, long-fermented sourdough breads throughout the greater Lisbon area.
How did you get connected with like the local farmers?
I just drove a lot, and I literally went to villages asking for who grew like local corn or who grew wheat. This kind of bread works with specific kinds of local corn, mostly white. The corn flour, it's scalded, so it's mixed with boiling water.
Yeah.
And then you let it cool off a little bit, and you add rye and room temperature water and salt and your sourdough. But like the consistency of the dough is much better with these local corns.
Do you have maybe especially older people that grew up in villages coming and saying, "Oh my gosh, I haven't had this since childhood"? Those types of memories?
We do, yeah.
That's one of the things that brings me a lot of pleasure.
So Lisbon has all these people that are not originally from Lisbon. Maybe their parents came to Lisbon when they were little, or their grandparents, and they have roots outside Lisbon in more rural areas.
We're very thankful that you're letting us use the facility. When the war broke out, honestly, I was just feeling a strong desire to get involved, even though so many thousands of miles away. And we were talking, and so we started this fundraiser. But I would really like to showcase some Ukrainian bread making traditions and introduce the world to a different set of culture with bread. So we're very excited to have this opportunity. So Anna's been coming up with some recipes that we hope to make over the next few days. It's a pleasure sharing your bread with you.
Thank you.
In the basement, a seldom used kitchen is ours for a few days.
It used to be a bank.
Oh, wow.
It's like a maze down here.
We're hoping to have some time the next 3 days because many of the recipes take more than 1 day to make. We can mix and do the preparation down here, no problem. Anything that we need to do tomorrow, we can shape here, but on Friday, we don't want to be in your guys' way. We're used to all conditions. My bakery now is gorgeous, and for years we were in a residential garage, and that was fine too. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And for spending all the time today. It was really nice hearing your whole story.
No problem. It was a wonderful pleasure, really.
When you're in the US, you're gonna have to come to Arizona now. Didn't know how this was all going to come together. We didn't know really how all these logistics were going to play out, where we were gonna source ingredients and all of that. So it's nice to have Diogo's help with some of these things. He's bringing some equipment like the mixer from his other facility. We have different flour altogether, definitely by us. So being able to work with all stone milled flours is definitely going to be a treat. So hopefully we can find some of these other more rare Ukrainian ingredients through the afternoon today. So that'll be an interesting challenge. I'm looking forward to seeing more of how this will all flow together over the next few days. So I'm about to feed Harriet, and we're 2 feedings away now from a production size. So I'm going to put the starter on my scale, and it's tared out. I know exactly what's in there. I brought some of Harriet's food source from home, which is a strong bread flour. Now I need warm water. I need this hot water to run enough to get to a warm temperature. Sourdough fermentation really enjoys temperatures like 84 degrees Fahrenheit. So my flour temperature is going to be the ambient temperature in the room, probably a lot closer to 70. So in order to counter that and start with the correct temperature, we really need to aim for somewhere around 90 degrees on the water itself. So just doing a quick hand mix here, and I'm pretty much done. There's no need to go past just the incorporation phase. I just want to make sure to get all the water and flour incorporated. A lot of bakers are always asking, how do I get my starter to be better performing or stronger? Home bakers store their starters in the refrigerators, they pull them out, And they sort of expect that out of the refrigerator, they're going to have a certain level of activity. You can't expect your starter out of the refrigerator to perform very well. It's still moving in the refrigerator, albeit slowly. It doesn't just stop. It's not completely frozen in time. So taking it out of the fridge and giving it multiple feedings before you use it makes a huge difference. You're going to see an exponential curve upwards in cell population, and more cell population than microorganisms means there's more microorganisms to leaven your dough with. So if you give the starter a few feedings, like in this case, it will be 4 feedings before we go after these recipes. I wanted to make sure to give as many as possible because, hey, we're going to be working with flours I've never worked with. We're going to be working with buckwheat. We're going to be working with spelt, and I've never put Harriet to the test against buckwheat, so I want her to be as strong as possible going into tomorrow's sessions with Anna. I met Anna at a baker's gathering back in 2018. She's the visionary behind Bakehouse, which is a well-known bakery throughout Ukraine. Once the war started, she fled to Portugal with her 2 daughters. Baby Maria is only 4 months old, and with us as we make plans and source ingredients.
Okay, so maybe we should do the notes for the quantity of flour from him. Yeah. So this spelt flour, I would say like 3 kilos. I think that I was thinking about that if we don't have this rye malt, maybe we can somehow change the taste of it. But I think that I don't have in any other bread molasses. But we can. I think we should buy honey. Yeah. I don't know. Should we put salt in the list? No?
I mean, we could probably pick up something small and be sufficient.
So sea salt we just can put in our list. Then for the rye flour, we need it like I counted like 18 kilos.
18 kilos.
It's too much, no? To ask?
It's 1 bag of flour.
I'll put 20.
I'll get a cart really quick. That looks like coriander. Yeah, that's fennel. Well, if they have einkorn, they have buckwheat. Yeah, I'll look it up in Portuguese. Buckwheat, Portuguese. Saraceno. Oh, I found some. You wanted more flax seeds, so is brown okay, or you want gold? Okay. This is 250 grams, so we need 4 packs. So 4. These are flakes, cereal from buckwheat. That's crazy they have this but not the flour. This looks like it. Yeah, mantequilla sin sal. Just picked up a random container for Harriet and should have kept some of the flour that we bought today because I actually don't have the amount that I was hoping for, but we'll just have to manage. But this will be the last of Harriet's actual food. Tomorrow she's going on a different diet. So I'm going to fill up about 1 kilo here of water. This water temperature is right around 90 degrees Fahrenheit again. And then since we're not doing this production until about 10 in the morning tomorrow, and it's about 11 hours away, so in about 5 or 6 hours I'll probably refrigerate this, or at least put it out on the balcony where it'll be a little cooler. That way it'll start moving a little slower. So I'm just going to go to incorporation with this mixture, and I added flour first just to see how much flour I even had. The risk of adding flour first to your mixture is that you have to sort of fish around for all the flour and make sure you actually get it into the mixture. And we have all this left over, about half of this container. This wasn't an ingredient that we were worried about buying from the store because I have it here. But we definitely sort of disregarded the finite potential of how much flour I actually brought with me. We bought some bread flour as well, and I left it with Anna in her car thinking, oh, we won't need that tonight. Might have been a mistake. We're making a bread called Borodinsky rye, which I actually refers to like a Russian military victory, the original bread. So we're renaming it for this purpose to Azovsky. We're also making Ukrainian bread, which is made with a rye starter as well. Knock those two out, and the breads that we'll actually use a wheat starter for, like the spelt and the buckwheat, I think I have plenty of starter for all those. And worst case, we just don't make all of them tomorrow. We have a few days to make everything. We'll see how it goes. Okay, shall we? Feels like waking up at 1 in the morning, except it's bright out. Should I go for the T55 that I bought, which would be similar to what I've been feeding? Or should I go crazy and go for Diogo's high extraction flour? That will totally change the dynamics. I guess I just don't know how it's gonna go. Will it change timing, flavor, performance? We are not on time. Fashionably late. Oh, there's Anna. Diogo brought over supplies from his main production facility. Just one small problem though. The staff today is not the same as it was yesterday, and the baker on site didn't know to expect us. I don't know if our supplies came in that we requested from the host bakery here. We'll have to hunt around for them. Our goal today is to set this set of workstations up for ourselves, see what tools we have at our disposal, and get to work making some Ukrainian breads with Anna. So I'm gonna go upstairs and grab some more supplies. Gleba has their full production facility about 30-40 minutes from here. This is the basement of a satellite bakery. So they have a really interesting model in which they work. They produce most of their doughs at this central Lisbon facility. They actually mill seemingly almost all the flour that they use, which is really interesting. Diogo was telling us yesterday when we met with him that in the distant past, there was more of a culture around growing grains in Portugal. Nowadays, the vast majority of the grains are imported. So his premise for his bakery was to revive some of that local grain growing. We enjoyed some really nice breads, including a corn and rye. I always associated that type of a sourdough bread with early colonial America. There wasn't as much wheat production in the United States area of that time in the colonies, but there was a lot of corn production done by the Native American population there. And so the settlers had to adjust to corn as a staple food because the wheat was very unpredictable. Sourdough was really the only way of leavening bread prior to 1850. The people that had access to any form of yeast would have been individuals that were close enough to a brewery where they could skim the tops off the vats of brewing beer and leaven their bread this way. But the majority of bread around the world that was leavened with sourdough starters. Another unexpected hiccup. The mixer Diogo provided us is a 3-phase mixer. This means it needs a different type of electricity than any of the regular outlets. We either have to use Milky's toaster outlet, Gleba's bread slicer outlet, or find a different solution by tomorrow. So we're managing these interesting variables. This isn't my bakery, this isn't Anna's bakery, and actually this isn't a bakery. It's a half, kitchen, and we're learning what we're missing of many supplies. Careful about how we plan everything for tomorrow. So today, everything will get prepped, and we'll do our best. We didn't know what to expect, and we'll just make it work. Let's mix the most important breads, and then if it's going well, we can add.
Okay, then we scale Kiev buckwheat today and flax. Spelt Starter. For the spelt leaven, I would suggest like 50 grams of spelt flour,
Okay.
60 grams of water, and like less than 10, like 7 to 8 grams of your super active wheat starter.
I'm flattered.
To transfer the wheat starter to the spelt starter.
What's your history with this bread? You mentioned yesterday that you even recommend people at home make the spelt
because
bread?
it's easy. I think it's, I don't know, the spelt bread, it just sounds very difficult, very complex, but at the end it is very active. It means that if someone starts to make its own sourdough, it's maybe better. It is something that everyone can make.
So we have the spelt starter. Later on, we'll finish it up. Maybe I should leave most of this flour here and only prepare what I need to bring back to the... We should also feed Harriet. I have two choices. I can go with Diogo's bread flour, or I can go with the T55 that I bought.
Yeah, but we can experiment.
Type 55 is a commercial flour that we bought at the store. It should be similar to the type of flour that we're feeding, although flour from the Western United States has particular characteristics of strength. It's known around the world as some of the strongest bread flour by protein content and performance. And so I don't know that the type 55 flour that we find here is an equivalent. I would rather go with Diogo's bread flour, to be honest. He brought an entire 20-kilo bag. The difficulty there is I know that it's not actually a true white flour. It is rather lower extraction whole grain flour milled on stone. In that situation, you still have particles of germ and bran, which makes the flour partially whole grain. It's mostly endosperm still, but you have whole grain elements. When you add those whole grain elements to a flour, it speeds up the fermentation rate. So the challenge in switching Harriet is not that she won't like her new food, but rather that she might like her new food too much. It's a new learning curve, and I will use my nose, I'll use my sense of taste, and I'll use visual cues to understand, but there's definitely a new learning curve with the spelt that we just mixed, and also in this feeding that we do. So Diogo gave us this beautiful rye starter, and it's made with a very coarsely milled rye. To me, it tastes like having grains that have been soaked in lemon juice. It's not unpleasant at all. I don't have very much experience keeping rye starters. I've only done so on a number of occasions. I felt as though I needed to understand a little bit more about the upkeep of a rye starter because the aromas that I achieved in Mesa were not that pleasant. I understand Harriet very well. We have a close relationship, you could say, over the years. But when it comes to rye starter in particular, this is new territory for me. You remember Jeffrey Hamelman? He always put a little rye flour on top of his rye starter.
No.
He did.
Really? What for?
So that he could see the activity because the top flour
like
cracks a little bit.
Cracks, okay.
I don't think we're gonna see much activity tomorrow on this. You think this is safe, right? It's not gonna explode, it's a rye, it's not gonna go up.
It's not, yeah.
No. Okay. I also did it because I don't have a cover for these, so I thought it'd be a little more protected.
I just hope that no one will...
Wonder what all this weird stuff is?
Yeah.
Do you keep a stone milled wheat starter or do you use
we have
bread
both.
flour?
Because we have only whole wheat, like 100% whole wheat bread. And for that one we use whole wheat starter. But for all others we use the white flour.
For the whole wheat starter, do you use a different percentage of mature starter?
Yeah.
A lower percentage or?
Actually, this is a totally different starter. It's stiff.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so when you use more of whole grain, you use less water just because the whole grain is more active. But I don't think that this is the case because I think that for a matter of taste, you'd better keep the same ratio now. not changing it. Maybe you will see the consistency now.
Shall we do the soaker?
Yeah.
I was thinking, since this is very flat, it might be good for the soaker, no? Too big.
I would prefer the high container.
Oh, you prefer high?
Yeah. Because we really need those flax seeds to be really wet and really absorb as much water as they can.
We might not have another option. That's the only problem.
That flaxseed bread was just the idea that I was thinking about sitting in the office. Like I just wanted to do some healthy option, and I wasn't really a big professional in bread baking at that time. I always have chosen the different food and a lot of healthy food and organic food for our store. So I knew that flaxseed is not digestible in a good way when it is not soaked. If you just eat, so if you have a bun and there's some flax on it, it's nothing. It just goes through your organisms and go away.
I see.
Because the grain is very, like it's hard, so it's our gut does not perform a very good job with this. When you soak it and then ferment it in bread, it's much more available. Yeah, and you got this omega-3 and all this that we know there is in this magnesium and a lot of different vitamins in flaxseed. So flaxseed is a very good seed for your health, but it should be treated in some way. Yeah. So tomorrow it will be like quite dense
and soft, right?
Yeah.
And the base bread for this is whole wheat or lighter wheat or bread flour?
Put both bread flour and whole wheat flour in a dough.
So like a base country bread, but with flax seeds.
I was thinking about our buckwheat flour, actually.
And buckwheat is something that is familiar in Ukraine, yeah?
That's good. When you ask any Ukrainian who lives abroad what they miss, they would say to you that they miss buckwheat, or they already found it in some Ukrainian, Russian, or some other stores, because it is something that we eat from our birth, I don't know. So we just cook buckwheat, put some butter in it, and just eat it. It's 90 grams. When I studied at SFBI, we were taught to, if we autolyze flour, we reserve some water, put it in the salt, and then put the salt with the water. But in the bakery, my bakers do not do this. They just add salt.
Yeah, we don't do it either. I mean, I see the benefit.
I think that there is some benefit from every good, precise step in the baking.
Something that a lot of people have been asking me, do you think the war will still be happening in 4 weeks?
Yeah.
Lots and lots of people.
I remember you shared it with me.
Can you help maybe people understand that don't?
If you would experience Kyiv just 3 months ago, it is a beautiful European city with a lot of bakeries, restaurants, coffee shops, flourishing, and the economy was really good. We had problems, we have a lot of problems in Ukrainian policy and...
Those normal problems you're describing exist everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
Life before the war was starting to become...
better. A lot of factories, a lot of infrastructure, a lot of housings are already destroyed in Ukraine, a lot. Tens of thousands of people already died. Our country and our economy and our people will need help. The closer to the war people are, the more optimistic they are somehow in Ukraine. Yeah. So those who are somewhere in the eastern part of Ukraine, they say, a few weeks and we will win. Those who are away, they are less optimistic, maybe because you see any problem much better from a distance. From a distance, yeah. So maybe from a distance, I don't know. For me, it's obvious that it will not end soon.
Do you want to go check on Maria?
I was thinking about going checking or calling Amanda. What do you think is better? Yeah, I will go check on Maria, okay?
Go, feel free. You know, of course we're here and we're trying to make Ukrainian bread, and the purpose is to create another vehicle to understand what's happening between humans around the world right now. There's a difficult layer here, and that's the human cost of conflict. We've spent some time now in the last day connecting with Anna and listening to her story. And what's striking is what is important, especially for her right now, is to be a good mom to her 2 young daughters who are here with her in Portugal. And the difficulty of the situation happening for her family is the displacement from home, the displacement from family, the displacement from safety and security for a 4-month-old little baby and for an 8-year-old little girl. You know, for her, being a mom right now is number one. What we're doing here is a side. Of course, bread and her bakery and business is a huge part of her story, but the safety of her children is number one. Their primary goal in Kyiv is currently to feed people and to keep the people who are working, So keep them employed, give them ability to have an income so that they can support themselves. The managers, including Anna, have had to figure out how to live from savings. And so it can be a very difficult thing. It's not necessarily about the big politics or about the war. I can't say I understand much about any of that. I'm not a soldier, I'm not a politician, but I'm a baker and I can understand another baker and their particular journey. And from that vantage point, I can also understand what millions of others are facing in this particular conflict. You know, while I would love to be successful in our endeavors here in the bakery and making all these products and highlighting Ukrainian bread making, I think what's more important is to actually have face-to-face interactions with somebody who's facing a lot of difficulty and to really understand the consequences on a human level. Well, we just wrapped up our prep work. So I think if we just get this stuff organized, then tomorrow we can make the mixing very efficient and not take up too much of their time over there. I'll have a conversation with them before I leave, and you take care of Varvara. I'll clean up here.
Thank you very much.
A year ago, we formed an online group called the Proof Bakers Exchange. It includes around 150 bakers from around the world, and a few happen to be in Portugal. We set out to meet one of the members, Pedro, along with his wife and family, at their apartment bakery called Trigo. This is great, you guys.
So what I do, I have some things hidden here, the flour. So I bought this table so I can, when I'm producing, I'm not baking. So we need to be very organized to be able within this space to make the most of it.
I've seen a few small bakeries now, and I would say this for the amount of square meters you guys utilize, you probably have the most efficient setup I've seen.
Oh, thank you.
And you have just enough nice tools to where it's not so painful.
Yeah, and small. We try to keep it simple. 4 main types of bread only. And we make other types that are in our catalog, but only if you order. So we only bring to markets these 4 types, makes it more simple, quicker, and less messy in this kitchen, in this setup. But we're loving it. We are also aware of the difficulties of scaling up. Then you need to get employees and you have more responsibilities and things like that. On the other hand, we'd like to have our home back.
Yeah.
I know that's
So you just rotate the levels.
Yeah. Well, the middle one I don't normally need to do that. But these two, yes.
Top bake's a little bit darker than the bottom.
Yeah. These guys go with rosemary. This with this. We are using the larger tomatoes today with the shallots.
Trigo is a market bakery that started in 2021. Pedro is a former traveling businessman, and Erica, who helps him every step of the way, is still actively an environmental scientist. She spent years studying in the Brazilian Amazon. With Trigo, they come together to serve their local community.
I spend a lot of time with my kids now, as opposed to where I was working for a corporate business. And my home was hotels and airports, and now I'm a baker, and I'm enjoying it, and I can sleep 8 hours again when I'm not baking, of course. Yeah.
Magic.
But there's no stress. I control my stress. It's a completely different story.
And I'm happy to see that you're still putting it back for longer, not taking it out too light.
No. I would like even to go even darker.
Your
But
customers
this is
only
not
let you
about
go.
me. Yeah, they won't buy. They think it's burnt. Or I explain them this Maillard reaction and all that is really good and soft and moist inside, elastic. There's no issue whatsoever. It's just the crust that is darker, but it gives more flavor. And my mission is to teach them go this way. Some I can. Some people like just light bread, and I don't bake light bread, but lighter. So in this oven, because you have different temperatures in the oven, what I do is I just take the bread as it is. Some is really dark, some is medium, and some is lighter. So because this way I please different.
Yeah, you can ask them lighter, darker, right, at the market.
Yeah.
We still do this to this day. Actually, our team member who helps us on social media, she made a post while we've been here, and she took a photo of our display of bread, and we had darker and lighter loaves that day. So I was shocked because the display says light or dark, and so a lot of people took that literally to answer that question in the comments. And there's more votes for dark than for light. Wow. So maybe we have converted people over the years.
Yeah. We have 500 followers on there. So
you say that now.
50,000.
Hey, you say that now, you'll have so many soon. You make a beautiful bread.
Thank you very much. We make things with passion. We make things that we eat. We don't make fake things, and I know it sounds like a bit cheesy even, but it's true. It's we wouldn't do anything that we wouldn't serve to our kids. It's we've been growing organically as well because customers can feel that. I hope this honesty.
Being with Pedro and Erica felt exactly like being at our home in Mesa. Pedro welcomed us into his home where we baked some bread together and shared a meal around his table. It's bakers like this that have rallied their communities to help another bakery in Ukraine. After our first day at Gleba, we were worried about finishing our project with only limited access to a mixer. Anna stumbled upon a Facebook post by a German baker who is trying to sell his bakery over the next couple weeks so he can move back to Germany. It turns out he knows us and has been following for years. He invites us to his space in the Sintra countryside where we can effectively finish our project. We didn't have a place to go, so we went in the evening and visited another baker in Mafra. I was driving, and Anna was Anna was messaging.
that you know there is a baker somewhere around Sintra, and he has a bakery, and would you like to maybe meet him or just having him around? And
we're very grateful to be here.
yeah, I think that we can start mixing flax seeds.
That's our water, yeah? You want me to reserve a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try.
Just because we don't know the flour. We just put all the flour in the mixer, and I don't think that we need the scales for this. We just put it, and because it's
already scaled.
Yeah.
Here's the flax soaker,
Yeah.
and it's absorbed, but it's not too wet.
So it's also maybe absorb some water in it when we will mix it in. I think we put the salt from the beginning.
Salt from the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay. Anna, what do you think? It's should we add the rest of the water? You tell me.
Did the flour already there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure we need. Yeah, it's like super wet.
Will we manage?
I don't know.
Bakers?
I don't know. We will see. We will adjust.
So Anna's a little concerned that it's wet. We reserved a little water initially, and then it was quite dry, so we added it. But I think it's coming together. I'm not so nervous, but
Yeah, the dough feels great. So now we can
look, it passes a window pane.
Yeah,
beautifully.
It's beautiful. And now we add flax.
Okay.
Sorry.
And we on low speed, yeah.
Yeah, on a low speed we just mix all together, and we check by hands usually if it's all mixed without any lumps.
It's coming together a little better.
It's coming better, but I'm not sure, but we will see.
I think we're okay here, no? You wanted more?
No, it's good. Yeah. It's a lot of flax. Usually the new bakers can leave the not folded dough in the bin. It's very important that I think to flip it, because otherwise
unfurls.
Yeah, usually like this. Or if you have a bigger container and quite extensible dough, then you can fold it like this, and it's okay. So it depends on the dough. But in this case, you just
the dough's quite. I mean, it's not too.
It's not too
extensible.
Wet. Yeah. I think that we could add even more water in it, and it would be okay.
You were so worried.
We can mix. I would suggest to mix spelt now.
Okay.
It's now 27, 28. It's a good temperature.
It's good, and it's quite sour. So I would.
Will we? I'm just worried, that the transition's rough. Should we mix any wheat starter with it or no?
Why?
I don't know. I'm so used to. I'm used to my starter being so robust. So.
No, it's good. It will manage. And for spelt, we need the warmer water.
Yeah.
It should be like 35 degrees.
Sure.
And the quantity of it is. So it's 1 kilo, 236.
The spelt leaven's quite wet too.
Yeah. In my experience, the wetter everything, like the dough, the starter, it's more active in this way.
And we just need the measure for salt. You want to hold it back or go ahead and add it too?
Yeah, we will hold it back.
Okay. So you like it this wet initially? And does it come together a little bit more?
Yeah, it should be, yeah.
So we held back about 35 grams of water from the original recipe based on what we're seeing in the bowl. This is meant to be a wet dough. Spelt has to it a huge amount of extensibility. It's going to stretch and stretch and stretch in your hands much more than other grains. It's a characteristic of spelt, and I'm very excited to be playing with it. So this is the best way to test new flours. We can provide a recipe, we can talk about a recipe, but every flour is going to take a different amount of hydration, and depending on its growing conditions, where it is in the world. So if you reserve a little water back, you can add it at the end of the mix. It helps you to adjust to a new flour right away. And if the flour changes from season to season, this is also a good way to adjust to your hydrations.
I think it's ready.
Can I feel?
Yeah, sure.
It's already quite extensible, I imagine.
Yeah, it's good.
More so when it'll relax.
Yeah.
Okay, we can take it out.
Yeah.
I mean, we're making all these Ukrainian recipes right now, and we hope that you take them and use them and think about baking with us for Ukraine. It's a difficult situation to face war. I can't say I have a first-hand knowledge of this, only from what I hear from my parents' parents in Poland. But life moves on. As Anna said in the beginning of the war, baker's gonna bake.
It's our type of fight, what we can do. So we just boil the water. It's the quantity is twice of the weight is twice the weight of flour, and then we will scald it.
Okay, you said how much? 1.5 kilos?
1.635.
1.635.
You want to boil it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ah, okay.
Just trying to figure out also
okay.
this.
Ah, it's locked. Why is it locked?
Oh, there's the lock, maybe plus and minus together. Of unlocking it.
Okay, on. Okay.
So this is temperature in Celsius.
Yeah,
okay.
that's okay. There we go.
Nice.
Okay, good.
You know, 3 bakers, and when it comes to cooking equipment,
So I would take it from the
and wait for it to cool a little bit.
a little bit, and then yeah.
The moment you scald, the aromas come out of whatever you're scalding. I'm not that familiar with buckwheat, so this is really fun. It's just a different grain that you can see how it just comes together in a slightly different way.
Do you feel the flavor?
Yeah, right
So
away.
intense.
Yeah.
Actually, for me, it's the main reason for scalding buckwheat. The flavor. Yeah, the flavor.
That's something that now it makes sense because, you know, I added not so much of a scald in the doughs I made this last month, and I was shocked at how much flavor they added for, you know, 20% rye or 20% Coruscant.
Yeah.
But I learned from you this time, you know, the scald brings out the flavor.
We can put it in the camera to cool
Yeah.
down faster, because otherwise we'll wait too long for it. Maybe we should check how cold is our scald for buckwheat.
So it's
and
not
if it's cold enough, we will mix buckwheat, maybe.
Okay. It's cooled down quite a bit, Anna. I don't know if you feel it.
Let's take the bowl, this one, and we'll scale the leaven in it. 991 grams of leaven. So we can put almost all the water.
Normally you want to release this dough.
Yeah, I would do this because buckwheat is no gluten flour.
It's 90 grams for salt. And I have my bread flour here.
And we also need honey.
Honey, I have here. The honey's decent. It's all crystallized.
Yeah, okay.
Not like the water honey, the agave.
It's real
Yeah.
honey. We have a very popular buckwheat baguette in one of the supermarket chains in Kiev and in Ukraine. It's the most popular baguette in the country, I think. So it has sugar in it for sure, and they also added maybe some extract or something with onion. So it's like buckwheat. So it's very aromatic, and this taste of buckwheat, sugar, and onion I think it's somewhere similar to some dishes that Ukrainians do.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is, I don't know. It's good, but it's kind of too sweet for me. Even if I also think that buckwheat benefits from some sugar, so that's why I add some honey.
So this is our final mix. No more mixes today. Just the leavens.
We don't have any time for other mixes, so yeah.
Should we try the Palianstia? Am I saying that right? Tomorrow?
I think that we start early tomorrow. We can make it without the cold fermentation because usually it's also cold fermented bread. So we make it and then we put it in the cold walk-in, and it benefits from it. But now we don't have I think we don't have enough time for it. Do you want to see the extensibility of Spelt? Look, it's like.
May I?
Yeah, sure. Super extensible.
You know what I love about being here in Europe in general is yesterday we were in an apartment with a baker, and he has some knowledge of all these techniques. We meet you and Anna and Diogo. Everybody has some knowledge of techniques and different learning. In the US, the value is just high production, ready mixes. All of you here in every European country have so much more familiarity with different grains, and I think this movement is just maybe trickling back to the United States a little bit. Sourdough as a whole is so uncommon, and then you add any complexity like the spelt, the buckwheat, whatever. Just there's no familiarity, so we have to sort of start our audience from very little familiarity. Flax.
600 grams should be.
600?
Yes, 600. Yeah, you put it away and it's 604. The first way was...
Yeah, it was 602 the first time, just for the record. So do you tighten up the shape? You shape again in the rounds, right? Yeah.
She's amazing. Like she did it always, like all her life. Like it's amazing.
But it seemed like a very natural thing for me, the rounding like this.
You mean rounding or sticking?
Rounding.
The rounding is natural,
Yeah.
for me as well, yeah.
But some people, he's right, like can't get it, right?
They do like this. They do like this. Like
Yes.
they don't touch the bottom of the dough at all. And they do like some people, not only the new people, some people do not feel what's going on. What you should do is
I can't feel the tension of tucking it.
They seem pretty active to me. Feel good.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe they're still a little young, but.
Yeah, we are like...
But we can also manage. We can manage tomorrow. I can pull them out and let them be out for a little while.
Sure. John, and what do you think about those buckwheat dough?
I was just looking for it.
Just your feeling. Yeah, I just took both those from...
Not ready in my mind.
I like think that it needs like more time, not more speed, but more time. This dough.
Okay.
So maybe we just make the stretch and fold for it and put it in the fridge.
And put it in the fridge.
Yes. And tomorrow, if you will be earlier, we'll just take it out again.
Yeah.
Into the warm and wait again. So we just interrupt the process now because otherwise we will not manage in an hour. It's good, but it just needs more time to relax and to...
But I don't feel much, it feels very dense still.
Put it on top of this cart.
We've been talking so much about food service in our bakery. This is what I would love to do, something like this, like just simple, out of the oven, off a peel. My first day baking with Jared in his garage. At the end of the long shift overnight, we started early like Sat at 2-3 in the morning, and he made me we pulled some ciabatta right out of the oven. He just put honey on it and gave me the ciabatta, and ever since then I just fell in love with this. This is a baker's meal, and it's made in a baker's way. It's simple but flavorful, and you don't need anything more. So.
I'm just thinking about to be good with our rye breads tomorrow and not to keep Sat too late. We should start early because otherwise we will not manage with rye breads.
Yeah. Okay.
And today we do only the 11s for them.
Even though these will be the hardest for us to manage on the timeline, I'm the most excited to see. There's a reason this bread is called Ukrainsky, and rye just has a big tradition in Eastern Europe in particular.
Yeah, because we grow a lot of rye.
And for this bread, is it always just one stage to get to the final levain from your starter, or do you ever do multiple stages?
No, I don't do this that molder 3-stage. This is for me and the baker is too difficult to manage.
Yeah.
And but we know this. We actually had the online class about this and tried it, and this is really beautiful. It gives really beautiful taste. So if you have a time and passion for this, I would recommend.
Did you try that? Yeah, it's so citrusy. It's very interesting. What do you think of this? I don't know much about rye.
Mine is totally different, but I also don't have this kind of coarse flour or coarse, what is it, grains that she has.
Yeah.
So
Different in smell and aroma
yeah,
too.
Different in everything. But rye generally tends to become much more acidic than wheat. Yeah, much quicker and much stronger also.
This is the stiff rye starter that we got from Diogo. It's very citrusy, and it's made from a coarse rye meal. So this is a seed, if you will. And it's roughly, in this case, this is 20% of the final flour in the formula. Let it inoculate in the water, especially given that it's such a coarse product. Get some more distribution of all the microbes. And now we're adding rye flour. And so now that we do this, this will be the final stage. And what we were discussing with Anno really was that there's many different methods when mixing these rye builds. There's methods we were discussing earlier where you do this in multiple stages. Like the German method we were discussing with Sat earlier was a 3-stage build. And as Anno's saying, it's a bit difficult to run such a process at a production level, but it benefits in terms of flavor. You end up getting a different balance of flavor overall in the final product. We're making one build here from the stiff starter, and then we will mix with it tomorrow. So this is just me taking care of Harriet at this point. I don't believe we have any need for the wheat starter tomorrow. We are going to produce a rye levain from the rye starter that we have, which is a little bit of a different concept. You can't just use the term levain and starter interchangeably. In this case, you sort of can, because the same starter that I'm feeding I'm just using it as it is in my dough to leaven. But especially common in rye to go from a starter to a levain, meaning like a final build. And sometimes there's multiple stages. In rye, you have to build the dough from the ferment. And you can do the same with a wheat starter too, I suppose. But in this case, I'm just doing some maintenance and making sure to keep the starter going for another day. And that's it for today. I woke up early this morning to get a jump start on the final day of the project. And as a bonus, I get to help Sat Karam in his own production of bread and pizza dough for the day. It's so humid outside. The water is dripping from the rooftops. You weren't lying about any of that. I was shocked.
It's the famous Sintra climate. As I had to change all my recipes I brought from Sweden.
Yeah.
They absolutely didn't work here because the flour is stored in the places. It's already so humid.
Yeah.
You have to use, 10% less water. It's amazing.
So you prefer the knife for your functional scoring?
Yeah, it's much faster and more like the razor blade sometimes gets stuck in the wet dough. So I found it made most sense for me. You have to find a serrated knife that is not too, too aggressive.
Do you mind if I check on the spelt?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. Some of the stuff is in the cart.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit hard to move.
Actually, everything is looking fine. that dough that we bulked yesterday, and it got plenty of rice, but it's not over.
Okay, so perfect, huh?
Yeah, we're okay. So I'm gonna work on a scald if you don't mind for my rye. Is that okay? I can take the induction, the burner.
Yeah, you need that?
So these are some aromatic seeds, coriander, whole cumin, whole fennel, and actually coriander in a ground form as well, so both the whole and the ground. The aroma's really nice. Very hard to explain, but it comes all the way through all the beautiful flavors of these spice blends. And we're about to prepare a rye scald. With that, get a lot of aroma. That's such a small amount of water, 130 grams of water that we're going to be at a boil extremely quickly. One of my biggest takeaways from this whole trip so far, the scald brings out all the flavors of whatever it is that you're putting in them. So, in here, I'm actually going to add all of these spices to the scald as well. And so I expect fully that this will inject the entire batch of bread with flavor as a result. And we have to prepare it early because for one, it needs to cool down and come together. So this was my task to start the day. And yeah, probably. So quick. Told you it was quick. There's not a whole lot of this time in this scald. It's going to join obviously more flour later on for the final batch of bread. We're not making very many, just a few loaves. I mean, probably about half the weight of all of this is just these spices. But because they're joining this very warm mixture, all their flavors are going to come out that much more. So I'm going to spend some time getting this all incorporated. And I have one more scald to prepare for our Ukrainian bread, also traditionally a rye loaf. Actually, yesterday, Sat and I were discussing his time in Sweden and how wheat just simply isn't something that can grow in some of the very colder climates because the growing season's so short. So as a result, rye becomes more of a staple bread. In similar ways, if the wheat harvest wasn't so great in history, which, wasn't always guaranteed, then rye was the fail-safe. And as a result, there's so many traditions surrounding rye. It's common for me to find new customers, especially who think of sourdough as a flavor. They think sourdough is a particular product, a particular bread. But that's not the case. Sourdough is a method. Here, during this trip, we have used the same method for rye. We have some spelt. We have buckwheat. Back home, we have croissants made out of sourdough, English muffins. Sourdough comes in many shapes, flavors, traditions. Here in Europe, you see all of them being used. I hope we can bring some of this home with us in terms of practices and traditions. Just eating the same type of bread all the time, you miss out. We've had difficulty getting this whole rye process started because we didn't quite have the tools that we needed at the other location that we were trying to work at. And so we waited till the last hour to do all this. And so we'll pull it off successfully, I have no doubt. But I know that there was a little bit of anxiety on actually pulling this one off. I just really wanted to do it. I feel like Anna's almost move forward with this Azovsky for me because I really wanted to see it done. I often think, I have the hands for wheat doughs. I don't know if you develop the hands for rye doughs where you don't stick to the rye, but rye is significantly more sticky. This is our buckwheat bread from yesterday. We interrupted the fermentation process, or tried to slow it down, I should say. On an overnight, it got quite a bit of volume. Now I need to bring it back to a workable temperature. Sat, could I get your opinion on these levains for rye? When you have a moment.
This is what you mixed yesterday, right? It's mild, but I think it's quite mature, just by the structure of it. Quite mild. So the ratio was probably little starter and a lot of flour.
Right, it was.
Yeah, but you can absolutely use it. definitely.
So you have no problem with the idea of using these for mixes?
No, definitely.
Yeah. Rye can be sensitive to pH, and the pH changes over time, so the timing is very crucial. With these in a good state, I'm going to go ahead and put them back on the shelf. And it means a little bit of time now. Wow. This is the buckwheat.
Wow.
It got a lot of lift.
Wow, yeah.
But I don't think it's too much. I think
No,
it's
no,
still
no,
okay.
no. It's perfect.
So we're going to shape this very similar to the way we shape our country loaves. Okay, so I'm going to give these a quick pre-shape. I'm not expecting them to have the strength of just purely wheat dough. This buckwheat doesn't have any gluten, so it's not going to come together like wheat, but still, I have to be gentle, but I can still get a decent tension so that my final shape works out nicely. Sat, we have way more bread than we can consume, so I hope you'll accept some Ukrainian breads from us as well.
Oh yeah, sure.
Earlier this morning, I was having a conversation with my driver who brought me over here. We were discussing the Ukrainian situation a bit more, talking to him a little bit about our efforts. And he was saying, well, you know, if you've made it here to Portugal, it's great. You know, you can just start working, send your kids to school, and move forward. And there's some truth in those words, but I don't think it's so simple. To not really know what's happening with your home, what's going to happen next, to have the separation from your family, to have all that uncertainty, I don't think it's as simple as just, okay, let's move on. You have all these thoughts of, you know, how long is this going to last? What's going to happen next? What's the uncertainty? When will I see my family members again, my colleagues? Will I be able to go back home in a week, in 2 weeks, in a month, in 3 months, in 6 months? Been here with Anna and just been talking to her more. This is the uncertainty that she deals with. You don't really know what's going to happen next as a civilian in this situation at all. Don't think you can just say, okay, well, she's safe here and our kids are safe, so let's just move forward. Because I think there's a strong desire to return, to recover, but it might not be possible in any short order because, you know, first and foremost priority for a mom is to provide for her children and keep them safe. So we've made it to the rye mixes. I have scaled all the ingredients. We have the levain from yesterday. It's gotten enough time. I'd probably 15 hours at this point. This is the first day that I'm starting to feel like I have any form of a rhythm here in any place that we've been trying to work, but I think it's a lot to do with how Sat keeps himself organized. Yesterday I was just observing, and it's very nice to work with somebody who has much more experience than you do. I'm usually the most experienced in my bakery, and I think I would be lying if I said that I'm super experienced. I have 5 years. Many people have been baking for, you know, a big part of their life. And it's not always just the technique, it's how you carry yourself in your facility. I feel like I've taken up more space on this counter than I've seen Sat take up on any work surface. But, you know, when you can keep yourself compact, you can work with more people, you can get more done in that way. I think I've learned a lot in 5 years, but a lot more to learn.
Actually, when I bake rye bread, I always hand mix in a big container. I don't even use my, yeah. It's too much of a mess. And hand mixing is like quick, and you don't need to knead it because you don't need to develop the gluten.
Yeah.
So it's the hand mix is like, it's just the fastest.
Maybe I'll do it with the other one, the hand mix. I have one more to do. That's a good idea. Okay, and we move on. Now the one that I'm quite excited about overall. I have the scald. This one is very aromatic. This is the one that has the cumin, the fennel, the coriander, and it really comes through. So now that I know I don't have to worry about combining in a certain way, I'm just going to put everything in the same bowl. What's the limit on this small scale?
10.
10, okay. According to this recipe, I only need 3 grams of salt. I don't even know if I can scale such a small amount.
Or was there salt already in some other part?
Yeah, it's such a small amount.
It doesn't make any sense, huh?
For...
How much flour is it? So, and it's quite wet probably, so it's like 1.5 kilos of flour.
Right.
And that should have at least 30 grams. So it's not 3, it's 30. Probably there's a comma set wrong somehow, somewhere.
I think you're right though. I think you're right.
This is good when you have some experience in baking. You kind of know the ratio. It just can't be right.
You were right on the money with this 40 grams of
Even
salt.
40. Wow. Maybe you scale it and then you keep a little bit back.
Yeah.
And then we try it. That's a nice thing also. If you taste raw dough, you know, you can tell.
And I'm going to try the hand mix as Sat was suggesting. Yeah, rye doesn't have very much gluten to it in comparison to wheat. It does have about a third whole wheat flour, while you have a bit of strength, but not going to get a window pane out of this spread. So this is the spelt that we made yesterday.
Middle is the highest temperature. You keep it
the
somewhere in
highest?
the middle. Left is the lowest, right is
Maybe we go here then.
734 you said, yeah?
Yep. These still need a little bit of color, yeah. She said about 40 minutes on the bake, so I imagine 10 more minutes. I set my timer that just went off for 30. This was some leftover scrap from the spelt that we made, so we made this tiny baby loaf. This is actually the first of Anna's breads that we've been working on the last couple days. It's a spelt sourdough. We converted our Harriet to a spelt sourdough in one day. I was all nervous because I'm used to just the wheat sourdough and how it performs. Anna was, teasing me because I thought that it was a weak starter, but clearly not. It was actually quite an active dough. So active that she was worried about how active it was. It looks to have worked out just fine. Not bad for a little scrap. We're going to probably bake these buckwheat ones next. So this is the Kiev buckwheat. A little sticky and a little warm. I should have definitely put a lot more flour. Hopefully the other ones are a little better than this. This dough is already much weaker because it's buckwheat, which doesn't have gluten. It has wheat too, but pretty high percentage of buckwheat. I was a bit nervous about those, but had some trouble on doing some of them, but
They look good.
they'll be fine.
They look good.
Okay, let's see if I can beautify them a little. The buckwheats won't be as pretty as some of our other breads, but I would take a less pretty, well-fermented loaf that's properly risen over the most beautiful under-fermented loaf every day. That color.
Maybe you can just flip it over on these to give it a little shine.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's just water, right?
And so spraying them because otherwise they're sort of ashy in finish. They don't get the...
It's just more tasty, to look at.
So we're gonna try this baby spelt, one that was just made from a little bit of scrap. Sat, you wanna try?
Sure. Let's see what you got. Is there butter on it already?
Yep, not very much.
Oh my God.
You like
It
it?
is tasty. Wow. I think it's better than mine, actually. Wow. It's nice.
It's really nice. It's light. It was overactive yesterday as far as the dough. Anna was very worried about it this morning. She wanted me to bake it right off the bat, and it worked out.
It's not so easy to get the dough out of the machine if it's such a big batch. Have you ever seen this? With these big, bulky things that make these balls? This is very much pizzeria style.
Yeah.
From the body away to the body. And then pull it, and then flip it over. It's nice, it's a nice technique. Slap and pull.
Yeah.
And it becomes a ball very quickly. Like 3 or 4 of these slaps, enough. With this kind of dough. I'm going to deliver bread at 9.
I have nothing else going on after this, so I
wanna
can
join
shave
me?
them all. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, nice. It's a little round trip to one shop that takes a lot, and then another shop that takes very little, because the percentage of the leaven is so high.
Yeah.
That it's already 80% of the bread dough is already leavened.
Right.
Amigos from USA, from America.
I really appreciate all the small markets. It's so much nicer to shop this way than Ocean.
And the funny thing is, the prices are very good here.
Shall I take these too?
Yeah, please.
So this is the Ukrainian rye.
And I would say dust them pretty well because rye is really, really sticky. The shaping that you need to do on these is really minimal. Just like put it into the shape. You know? There's no like developing anything other than make a shape.
I wonder if I mixed them a little young, the leaven.
It looks really good. Like you can be very happy with how they came out.
I was worried for a minute.
Yeah,
No, they're okay. No need to score these, yeah? They just will crack open.
Yeah, exactly. And they won't rise so much anymore. They're kind of almost at the maximum already. That's one of the things with rye. It's just like, that's it. That's all you get. More to center and the right because they're hotter.
Thanks for your help with all the rye. I'm very out of my element. But I'm very excited to learn. That's one of the highlights of my trip.
So these loaves will definitely go flat a little bit, but it's just the nature of rye bread, you know? If you don't have it in the tin, it will run flat just a little bit.
Welcome. All right, we have the flax. The oven's just warming back up.
You just did everything.
Yeah,
Good.
sorry.
No, I'm not. It's a good news.
Yeah, the spelt. We have the Ukrainian. I used his bannetons because I had a nightmare with Diogo's baskets with that. Everything was sticking. So
Really?
Well, you see, these are not so pretty. Azovsky. I made them huge compared because you had 400 grams, but they barely filled the tins. So I don't know what you think, but hopefully they're okay. I made one experimental seeded with his seed mix on top only. So I put coriander on this and then we added his other seeds. So yeah.
The smell is good. Did you try to cut spelt?
Yeah, you can.
Already?
Yeah, try it.
Good.
Well, we tried the baby one. I didn't try the full-size one. So.
Which one we cut? This one is good.
And we already cut some of the buckwheat.
Maybe a little bit underproofed. And I see the sign of it in here because the crumb is not even.
Yeah.
And also we can see the sign of this here.
Yeah, exactly.
Because usually like this kind of bread, of this kind of wet spelt bread, it doesn't have this one.
Doesn't burst like this.
Yeah, so it's just, I think that, but just a little bit. Yeah, and it's fluffy because that's why I put so much water in the dough because I don't like when the spelt is so very dense. I'm satisfied with the taste. My home tastes a little bit less salt.
Yeah.
But in terms of all other, like sourness, sweetness, fluffiness, it's really good bread. I like it. And it's not so difficult to do.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Spelt starter is easy. If you have any other starter, you can just refeed in 2 or 3 feedings in a spelt starter. And you have a beautiful spelt loaf at home because you just need the tin, any tin you use.
Yeah.
Like for, I don't know, for banana bread. Like usually people have them at home. That's why I like this bread so much to show because this can be, like we bake like hundreds of them in the bakery for like selling and in the professional settings it's good. And at the same time you can bake it at home, no problem.
I was not really familiar with this medium, so I struggled with it a little, the buckwheat.
I think that they're a little bit, like usually this dough we keep in walk-in for 48 hours. Yeah, just you can improvise. Wow.
It's hard to know, when you're working with a new dough, how...
Yeah, it's good. You see it in the cut.
Yeah.
That is good.
See that there's pretty even distribution here on the inside of the...
I don't know, I cannot do this.
Yes,
like,
you can.
No. I just do like this.
I think the key though is, you see like she's very confident about it.
Yes, that's true.
Sat Karam, would you mind decorating one loaf for us? Sure. The final loaf of our project. All right, load it. You think middle right still? Very good. So I'm going to start loading up our supplies so that it's efficient on the end here. Don't get too full because we're invited for pizza.
We will manage with pizza. I have a very big stomach.
This workplace is actually owned by Sourdough, a famous Portuguese pizzeria. Pizza makers and bread bakers are cousin craftsmen. As our Ukrainian breads come out of the oven, we head to Sourdough to share some pizza and connect over our experience together. I always have believed that bread is this bridge between people because we can disagree on almost everything and yet we can break bread together and share a meal. And I think that there's something quite powerful about bread in that regard because it crosses cultures, it crosses conflicts. The difficulty right now is what to do from here. The European Union has some interesting programs that allow for Anna or other Ukrainians to come and stay for a little while. There's some ability to hopefully tap into social services, although all these processes take time. For instance, she's been here for some time and she still has to figure out how to pay for housing without an income. You know, there's a lot of layers that have been stripped away from her ability to just make free choices for herself and for her family. As somebody who's no longer able to rely on her home city for safety, at the very least, I think I'm in a position where I can try to help my friend. We're a rare find these days, but artisan bakers play an important role in the communities they serve. Bakehouse like Gleba, Proof, Trigo, and Sat Karam's bakery bring people together. So when one of our own faces challenges like war, turmoil, and displacement, we come together to help. Join us in Baking for Ukraine.